Hello, 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 and welcome. Happy 2025. We have hit a new year, and this is our first IAA Astro College recording for the year. We took a little break over the holidays, but we're ready to go again, and so glad you could join us for this week's edition of the weather, the moons, and the horoscopes for the week. So hopefully you can find something good here. Please hit like and subscribe button for our YouTube channel and help us to grow so that astrology can reach more people across the world. This is the International Academy of Astrology, which means we have students and teachers from all over the world creating an astrological community. And speaking of that, oh, and by the way, my name is Jennifer Barish. I'll be your host. I am just delighted to be here today. Thank you. But speaking of our international community, I have a few announcements I would like to make for you before we get started into this week's astrology. One is that we are transitioning from astrocollege.org as a website to add astrocollege.com. So you can check out both of those. We are currently booking classes on both. A lot of stuff happening, and it's really hard to shut down one side and start the other, and there's some problems connecting the two, but lots of good information out there. Just go take a look at astrocollege.com because we have a virtual community that we are building, and we would like for you to join that. It's free, doesn't cost you a thing, and you get access to our astrologers, and we're going to have Q&A sessions and games and events that are free there on our community. So go and join and notice over the coming months how that continues to grow. It's a brand new year here at Astro College, or International Academy of Astrology. The second thing I wanted to tell you about this first week of January is one, we have a forecast, an annual forecast by esteemed astrologer Diane Trimbath. Diane is just wonderful and gives us these forecasts, and she's going to talk about the year ahead, calling it a look at the year ahead, determination to pioneer a new dream. And this forecast is going to happen this Friday night at 8 o'clock East Coast time. So if you're elsewhere in the world, adjust to East Coast time. Friday, January the 10th at 8 o'clock, and you can sign up at astrocollege.com. You can also get in our link tree, so on social media, both on Instagram and on Facebook, you'll see all of our links go to a link tree with all of our course listings where you can sign up there, and it'll help you sort out which website you need to go to. Also, I wanted to tell you about a big sale we are still having. We extended the Christmas sale into a January sale. Not as big a discounts, but still great discounts. If you're interested in jumping into basic astrology, we have 25% off still through the 10th. So you better jump on that. That's the end of this week. And then 25% off of that, and our Nat 1 Foundations course, and then 15% off of Nat 2 through 7, and then our astrology course packages, the bundles, 1 year, 2 year, even our 3 and 4 year bundle is at 30% off, and that sale will continue through this Friday, so we'll hope you will take advantage of that. Also, I wanted to mention, if you are interested in medical astrology, we have Lynn Coiner's medical transits, and it is a really good course. You do not have to have taken Medical Astrology 1. You can jump into this one because we're really going to be talking about transits, and progressions, which are important in medical astrology. That actually begins on Wednesday. So if you want to get in on that, it's a 6-week course. It's going to be on Wednesday evenings. There's still time to jump in and save your spot in Lynn's course. So that might be the only time this transit and progressions course is offered this year. So I encourage you, if you're into medical astrology, get in Lynn's course today. Okay, what else? I told you about the online community. Our winter term is getting ready to start. All of our courses really get going next year. Edit that, next week. Beginning the week of the 13th, I think basic starts on the 20th, so we've got a few days left for that. But if you have wanted to study astrology, whether at a beginner's level or you've taken some courses and you're ready to take your education a little bit further, it is time to start making your New Year's decisions. And the astrology speaks to that. So without further ado, let's get into the astrology. So as I did last year, we're going to start with our moons, because our moons are the way to know the kind of emotional energy, kind of the flow, how the collective is, what the mood is, whether it is earth, fire, air, or water. It's important to kind of know, if things are calmer or have the potential in heating up, and we have had Mars in retrograde and it's been in Leo. And so there has been the potential for tempers and just heat in words and actions, lots of aggressive energy in the sky to take advantage of if one needs it. Well, to go along with that, we have the moon in Aries. So over the weekend, the moon was in Pisces, closing out the 12 signs, a little bit softer, more fluid, more intuitive energy over the weekend. And then Sunday afternoon, that moon shifted into Aries, the first of the signs. So you may notice this morning on Monday, being the 6th of January, that the energy really picked up. And, one way to work that out is to go out and exercise, go for a walk, clean out the closet, vacuum, do something that feels physical, and it helps to release that stress, that energy out. I always notice I do have an Aries moon, and during this time I can get really tense, and so I know that I need to, I practice yoga. Welcome to my yoga room. And so I need to get back here on my mat and do some yoga, or do some weight training or some Pilates, something that helps to release some of that physical energy. And so you may notice that. You may also notice words being fast and quick, people jump into the gun to get started. Or jump into the gun, drawing conclusions about things that maybe they don't need to draw conclusions about. Things are just quick still to heat up when we have an Aries moon. It's very motivating though. So if you've been feeling sluggish post happy Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all the junk we've been eating, this is a great time to take that energy lift and use it to be able to get in motion and get stuff started, taking down your holiday decorations, cleaning up the house, whatever that feels like for you, organizing some drawers in the kitchen. I know all of my utensils are in the wrong places, and so it's time for me to go and reorganize and get my kitchen back in shape, since everybody's been cooking over the holidays and my kids have been home from college, and it's just been, really busy and chaotic. And so that Aries moon leads into some of that busyness, just go, 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 go type of energy. And that will last Monday and Tuesday through about, I think it's 5:11 p.m. East Coast time, when that moon will change. And then you'll notice that things kind of slow down again. That moon is going to go into Taurus, and the Taurus moon, this is a delicious moon. The moon loves to be in Taurus. Things kind of slow down, things get real internal, kind of sensorial. And when I say sensorial, I mean the 5 senses, things that you can touch, you can taste, you can smell. So think about lighting candles, turning on the fireplace, a snuggly blanket, somebody that you like to snuggle up with, as well as yummy food. So it's time to make macaroni and cheese and cookies. Those are 2 things, cookie baking, or maybe it's baking a nice loaf of bread, making a yummy soup. It's cold here where I am in Ohio, and it's snowing outside, so soup sounds great right now, especially during this Taurus moon. So also maybe a feeling like you want to get outside. Taurus loves the outdoors. It's a nature sign. Maybe it's time to grow some plants, start some seeds wherever you are. doing a little work toward bringing some green into our life. So maybe that's going to the local hardware store and picking up some plants and starting to nurture and care for those. All of those are good ways to take advantage of the Taurus moon, which is an earth sign. So very grounded, very practical, clear thinking, but also can be a little stubborn, also can get stuck in the mud a little bit. So don't get stuck eating too many cookies. You can bake them and then you give them away to all of the neighbors. So that's Taurus moon. And then we move on. That's Wednesday and Thursday until around 8 o'clock on Thursday night. And then the next sign is Gemini. And that moon will be in Gemini on Friday and Saturday until 11:24 Saturday night. So most of Saturday, Friday, and Saturday, Gemini moon, and Gemini is air. So that's a chatty moon. Everybody's talking, communicating, wanting to get together, going out to dinner, friends, conversations, just lots of, and if not talkative, mental chatter. Maybe there's a book you've been wanting to read. Maybe there's some puzzles you've been wanting to work. Gemini sometimes likes to do two things at one time, so maybe you've got two projects going on Friday and Saturday. Just honoring that you're going to be busy-minded. Other people are too. Things come in doubles, and lots of like student-teacher type of vibe where either you're the student of something or you're teaching something to someone else. Definitely a learning and interaction type of moon. And then on Sunday, you're going to see that moon shift down again as it goes from that air, which brings things up, into water, Cancer moon. And so that Cancer moon is starting to set the stage. We are moving into a full moon, which we'll talk about next week on next Monday. But that Cancer moon on Sunday is a water sign. Things get a little more quiet, a little more internal. It might just be a good day to cozy up with a book, a warm cup of tea, and snuggle in if it's snowing where you are, being that it's still January. So Cancer moon's very protective energy, just likes to be safe and warm and cozy and maybe at home. So seek places that feel like home to you, and that'll be a good way to spend your Sunday, the 12th. Yes, the 12th, looking at my calendar. Okay, friends, so that's the moons this week. So what is the big energy? Well, the big energy this week, I've got two things I want to tell you about. But first, we're going to start off with Mars retrograde. I think we've talked about it before. Mars has been retrograde for a bit. It's going to continue to be retrograde for a while now. Well, it's been retrograde in Leo. So over the holidays, you may have noticed that things or people or places were especially loud. They were proud. They were roaring like a lion. It's been like party time. I like to think of that Billy Joel song called Big Shot, and he says, "You think you're a big shot, didn't you?" Everybody thinks they're a big shot during a Mars retrograde in Leo. Things are louder, and we are shifting gears though. More of that Cancer energy. I just talked about the moon being in Cancer, so now Mars has backed back into Cancer, and he's going to be there through mid-April. So we've got a good little time with Mars in Cancer. This quiets things down. The energy is going to shift down into things that are more internal. So you may be more still, more quiet, more in your head at this time. People aren't talking as much as during Leo Mars, but you're going to feel more like staying at home or home-based or spaces that feel safe. Or think about a crab in their crab shell. That inner protective world that you don't let other people access. Well, that's kind of that Mars retrograde energy, because people might be striking out. They may be feeling a little stepped on or overtaken, or boundaries have gotten blurred over the holidays. And Cancer's going to come and put those walls back up and say, what's the boundaries between you and I? Because I need to protect my inner worlds, my inner spaces. You know, you're going to be very intuitive during this time. You know, Cancer is ruled by the moon. So as that moon switches signs every 2.5 days, I want you to notice what sign it's in. Whether it's in a water sign, like I talked about on Sunday, you know, that Cancer moon is going to be talking to Mars. They're going to be working together, you know, and it's going to be more internal, more self-protective, thinking about safety. How can you create safe spaces for yourself and for other people? And that can be emotionally, but that can also be physically. You know, if you've been concerned the lock on your door doesn't work very well, you need to put a new lock on it. You know, you've been concerned about taking care of some of the people in your world, you know, maybe older parents, maybe like I have kids away at college, you know, are they being safe? You know, is my daughter, does she carry her mace with her when she's walking around at night? You know, hopefully she's not walking around too much by herself. But thinking of ways that we can be really safe and protective and doing the right thing. So that's on a physical level. So you got to think about that Cancer crab and their crab shell again, trying to protect ourselves and trying to get in our safe spaces. And with Mars retrograde in Cancer, you know, this is talking about home. So it could be that there is conversation about how do we make our home a little more snuggly, a little more cozy, a little more comfortable to be in. So it could be some remodeling that you've been working on. I probably wouldn't start a new project per se, or a big project like a huge remodel just yet, because you don't really want to sign contracts during a retrograde season like this one. But you know, small projects that you've had on your to-do list, painting a room, or you know, redecorating with curtains. I was thinking about one of my spare bedrooms. I need to buy bedspreads and sheets and give it a refresh. And I was thinking, what color do I want to do that bedroom in now? How can I change that up? And I like change. I've got Uranus opposite my moon, so I'm always about change and how can I do things different. But some people don't like that. So you've got to consider, like, okay, what are people's inclinations or natural inclinations? And that's where looking at the natal chart can be so helpful, is seeing your family and friends. What is their natural inclination? How are they going to do during this Mars retrograde? Are they going to be defensive and needing to put their barriers and boundaries up, or are they going to be more open to change like what I am? And so I'm talking about decorating. You know, it may be that your significant other doesn't like to rearrange furniture, and they're like, what are you doing? Why are you moving and changing stuff up? I like the colors the way they were. And you're like, I just needed to do something a little bit different. So just noticing how those interactions occur for each of us. But, you know, before you, like they say on the airplane, before you put the oxygen mask on others, you've got to apply it to yourself. And so you want to make sure that you are caring for your moon, for your emotional health, and for this Mars who may be acting out a little bit emotionally. You know, you want to really consider what makes you feel good, what makes you feel comfortable, what makes you feel snuggly and safe and protective, and like you've got the boundaries you need to be able to be your best self. And that's how you can use this energy. So what else do I want to tell you that? I'm looking through my notes here. Bear with me. You know, one thing I said, you don't want to sign contracts during this time. You know, sometimes you have to. You don't have a choice. So you just want to make sure that you read all the fine lines, all the fine details, just like on a Mercury retrograde. But this is Mars. So Mars is about forward motion, and just realizing that things may not move forward the way that you would necessarily like them to. There might be some back and forth, some ebb and flow. Think about that crab in the sea. You know, the tide is coming in, the tide is going out. And we're going to have a lot of that kind of motion between now and February 23rd, where things just don't move forward as directly as we would like for them to. But it's okay, because the other thing you're going to equip yourself with is some patience, and with this knowledge that there is going to be kind of an ebb and flow to things until February 23rd, when Mars goes out of retrograde and starts moving forward. So think of yourself like a crab in its crab shell at this time. It's a good time for planning. I'm also noticing where you might be feeling extra sensitive on the inside, but where others in your world and circle might be feeling extra sensitive or taking every word to heart. So, we want to be careful with our words. Words can wound, and people are taking things to heart and extra sensitive when we've got this Mars retrograde in Cancer. So you want to make sure that if you're like me, a Sagittarius rising, you just clip that lip sometimes and you think about what you're saying before you say them. And speaking of that, that leads into a transit that we have happening here at the first of the week on Monday. Here on January 6th, we have Mercury is square Neptune, and that is the planets being at a 90-degree angle. You've heard me talk about it. It's like a 90-degree angle, a square. I am an English major, not a math major, but it's a square, and that corner where the two meet, well, that's like hitting your head on an edge. So if you're short like what I am, sometimes the cabinets open and I can bonk my head, or banging your knee on the coffee table. You've heard me say that before. Mercury, the planet of communication, is hitting its head against Neptune, the dreamer, the illusions, the delusions, the daydreams that we have. So this is dreamer energy. So I would just say notice your dreams at the first of the week, Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night. This can also cause some confusion. So that's how you're banging your head against the walls with confusion or chaos, or possibly harsh words from someone else that can be a bit confusing. You may not know why or where it's coming from. So I would encourage you, along with the general Mars energy, to just think before you speak, as you may not know why you're feeling angry or feeling frustrated or hurt or out of sorts yet. And with the Aries moon we have here at the first of the week, you want to make sure you get physical and work the body out so that you can work the mind out. So for those of you, you don't have to be an athlete, but just a regular exercise or going for a walk can always make you feel better. When my kids were in high school, they took a class, some phys ed class, that said 12 minutes of physical activity is all you need to change your viewpoint. So I would encourage you, go and have 12 minutes of walking, 12 minutes of anything, going on a jog, 12 minutes of mopping the floor, of vacuuming, of dusting, before you speak. And then that can help you to be more aligned, that your head and your heart are more aligned, your words are more aligned, and you're able to speak more clearly with how you feel, instead of maybe anger or frustration, ways that we don't want to speak out. So that's how you can use that energy. And then another big thing that's happening this week, so moving on, is that we have on Wednesday, Mercury is going to move out of Sagittarius and it's going to move into Capricorn. And so this is really good. Now, Sagittarius is party season and all about having fun, but it's a little bit scattered energy. You're going to feel the mental focus shift from that fire sign Sagittarius, where we get all these inspirations and ideas and it's so much fun, into something more grounded and focused and practical of Capricorn, the earth sign, saying, instead of juggling lots of things at one time like Sagittarius likes to do, Cap says you're going to pick one ball and you're going to focus just on that one item, that one thing, and where it's going, and you'll pick the one that you can see that's most likely to get done, one you can see going the distance, the one you can accomplish, and then all of a sudden it's a plan just on that one thing. Thinking is more practical and methodical. And this Mercury is dealing in reality. She's saying, what's for real here? What can really happen? Let's get to the heart of things. Let's get in the bank account. Let's look at our resources, what's really possible right now. So you're going to notice from that maybe dreamy pie in the sky, all these thoughts and ideas and things you want to do, to just picking one thing, and it's time to go after it. Planning for the future. That's really what Mercury in Capricorn. And so this is the time of year when you can make some really good, solid, practical, detailed plans for yourself. You know, we only have this focused Mercury until January 27th, and then he's going to shift into Aquarius. So this is a good time between now on January, I said that was Wednesday, so January 8th through January 27th, to vision board, to get out, you know, your journal and start making notes and plans and envisioning what do you want this year to look like, or maybe it's over the next 3 years. You know, what vacations? Maybe you want to take 3 vacations this year. You know, one big one and 2 mini ones. And so, what does that look like? So it might be a good time to do some free writing, some journaling, even vision boarding, making lists for yourself, getting in your planner, scribbling out some notes. What would you like to accomplish this year? And that is what this Mercury in Capricorn is going to have on its mind from January 8th through the 27th. So I encourage you to make a plan, set a goal. You're going to feel very productive, even if you don't accomplish the thing. You're going to feel so much better by just starting to think about the future and where you want to go and what you want to do, and that along with those ideas follows a sense of empowerment, like, yeah, you can do this. You know, going back to Billy Joel, you are the big shot whenever you have things under control, and you know what's happening and what direction you're headed in. So I would encourage you to use that Mercury in Capricorn to make your plan. All right, so that's important, but that is not the biggest thing. I feel that the biggest thing this week, and you're like, oh, they're all big things. Well, they kind of are, but you have to notice how the energy is happening for you. So, you know, it's sort of like music playing. The planets, you've heard, and if you haven't seen NASA's recordings of the music of the spheres, where you can actually hear the sound of the planets, they play a music. They've got a frequency, and it just depends on how it pings off of us, you know, how we take that energy, whether it's harder through the squares or it's softer through the trines and sextiles, you know. And when I say harder, that can also be motivating. You know, this Aries moon, the first of the week, can get your butt up off the couch and say it's time to get it in gear. You said you were going to go and work out and exercise, and Aries moon's like, yep, let's go for it. It's time. So squares aren't always bad. It just, that tends to be when you're very first learning astrology. It's like, those blue lines are good lines, those red lines are bad lines. No, if you had a whole chart of nothing but blue lines, you might be a lazy bone who can't really finish anything you start, can't get anything done, and stuff just happens so easy peasy that you're not motivated. So you want the red lines in the chart so that you can get motivated. But that's saved for a reading. And by the way, I do readings. We are going to have a reading service at the IAA soon, and then we're going to have a list of astrologers. But until that time, you can find me. My name is Jen, and I'm at magicallifeastrology.com. So understanding if you're a new astrologer, when I say red lines and blue lines, that's the picture of the chart. And when you see a natal chart, by the way, that is just a picture of the sky at the moment you were born. And astrologers have learned how to read that and synthesize those energies, that music that's playing at the time that the planets are pinging off of us, and how that builds our personality and our characteristics, and, you know, really how we perceive and take in the world. So anyway, big thing this week that I wanted to get to is that the nodes are changing signs. So what are the nodes? So the nodes of the moon, we've got the north node and the south node. In the Vedic tradition, that's Rahu and Ketu. I am a Western astrologer, so I stick more with our Western version, but I do like to think about that Rahu, the north node, is our future. It's our destiny. It's where we're headed. It's the direction we're going in. And then K2, the south node, that is the things we need to let go of, where we need to prune things away, where we need to release, kind of a cosmic drain. It's time to let things go down the drain. Okay, so the nodes are in 2 signs, and they kind of stand like a full moon. They're opposite of each other, okay? The nodes are points in space where the moon's orbit lines up with the path of the sun. That's what they look like in the astronomy of the astrology. But symbolically, we're looking at what sign they're in. So they have been, Aries has been where the North Node placement is, and Libra has been the South Node placement. So Aries is all about how can I do it myself? How can I take charge? How do I not wait on other people? If I want to get it done, I've got to take the initiative. Whereas Libra is like, I need a friend. I need partnership. It's a tandem bicycle built for two. We've got to do it together, and so there might be a lot of waiting, okay? And so over the last 18 months, we have had this kind of juxtaposition between the I, the me, I want to do this, I need to take charge, in the we. Well, what does everybody want? What's best for the group? What's best for the family? Should we wait? Should we do it together? I need a friend before I can make a move. And maybe you felt that in your own life, sometimes feeling pulled between this, what I want, as to what everybody else in your world wants, right? So that's where we've been. And that's where we are right now on Monday the 6th. But then later this week, it is actually on Saturday the 11th, those nodes are going to shift signs. They move signs about every 18 months, and we are moving into the Pisces Virgo axis. So we were in Aries, and then we dial it back one, Pisces, and then from Libra and dial it back one into Virgo. Pisces and Virgo is a whole different set of energy. So Aries and Libra is fire and air, but Pisces and Virgo, that is water and earth. So things get a little more grounded. We are growing things. We are going to be looking at things as Pisces, as somewhat the group and what's good for all, but more in a external way, not so much internalized with Aries, but an external, what's good for our world, what's good for our earth, what's good for our planet, what's good for the collective, kind of that agape love, like a universal love for all, okay? So that's the North Node, that's where we're headed, and that is juxtapositioned against Virgo, the South Node, where we're letting go, we're releasing. So what we're releasing is criticism, we're releasing the details, we're releasing the analytical side, because Pisces is all about intuition and knowing and really leaning into your gut instinct. And Virgo is saying, wait, I've got to gather all the facts first. I've got to go do my research. I've got to go and get all the information. I sometimes call this the forest for the trees. Are you looking at the forest, the bigger picture? One drive that I had in the fall, I would drive down this hill. I was on a interstate, and you would see all of the trees, all the autumn colors, the reds, the golds, the browns, the oranges, all the beautiful autumn colors. And so that's the forest, right? Well, or are we focused on one tree? And so this placement of the nodes is saying, are you too focused on one tree, and do you need to think about what's best for the whole forest, right? Are you looking at the forest, or are you looking at the tree? And is encouraging us, focus more on the forest. Let go of that one tree. Everything doesn't have to be perfect before you do it. So you don't have to be perfect. Don't be so critical on yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself. Let some of that go, that need for control and trust, right? Trust in humanity. Trust that things will happen for the right reason, for the best. And I know I am speaking a tall order here. That's not necessarily an easy thing to do. But that is the direction we're headed in. I also like to think of this, I've heard it described as a camera lens. So either we're really focused in and honed in, like, look at my yoga area behind me. You see one detail, you see one of the moons, maybe the moon toward the left. Or are you looking at the whole picture together? What do you see when you see the whole picture? So focused in on this one little teeny tiny detail, and it's not quite right, so then we can't start. Or we say, no, the whole picture picture's very nice. It looks just fine together. Everything matches, and I'm not speaking just to my space, but just everything matches, everything goes with the flow, everything's working together. That beautiful forest, it is such a nice place to be, and I'm not going to worry about that one little tree that maybe looks kind of dead and scraggly. Like, the whole thing together has so much value. It's so beautiful. It's so nice. So trying to think about that. Where do you focus in on this one thing that stops you? Where do you need to take a bigger perspective and say, let's look at the whole thing together? It's working very well. The whole life is working very well. The whole job. Maybe you have a coworker, and that one coworker just drives you crazy, right? And they're so nitpicky, and they're so hard to work with, and they're snarky, and they're mean. But then think about your whole job. What about everybody else? Is it a good environment to be in? Do you have good benefits? Do you enjoy being there? Do you like the work? So maybe letting go of that one little tree, remembering the whole forest. So just an example of the nodes at work, and you can apply that to many places in your life. You might want to look at where your own personal nodes are, because that's how you take things in. And the thought is that your south node is the energy you feel most comfortable with. It's like your fuzzy slippers and your house coat, and you just feel comfortable with that energy. And the north node, the completely opposite, that's the energy you're going toward as you age, as you live life, as time goes on. You become more and more like that north node energy. So for instance, I have a Taurus south node, and so Taurus qualities are liking the outdoors. Somebody who moves a little bit slower. It's leaning into sensory experiences. It's taking a more grounded, practical approach, right? And so through this life, I'm moving toward the opposite energy, which is Scorpio. And Scorpio energy is about feeling into things, using your intuition, gut instinct, being real focused and purposeful and driven. And I'm still learning about it at 48 years old. I am still learning about those two energies, how I started with Taurus and how I'm moving towards Scorpio. So that's why it's important to know your natal nodes, but just where the nodes are in the sky right now. We are working with Virgo and Pisces, and we will be for the next 18 months. So doing a little research about that might be a good way to spend an afternoon. And you might just have a look at our Astrology Flicks collection, because I bet there's a workshop in there about it. I bet there's some classes someone has taught, that can help you to learn a little more about all of the nodes placements. Okay. So that's the energy this week. We've got Mars retrograde going back into Cancer. We've got Mercury shifting signs. We've got these nodes shifting. The beginning of a lot of changes that are happening in 2025. You can find out so much more in Diane's forecast this Friday the 10th. I encourage you to do that, because all the outer planets are changing, and it is going to be a popping, cracking, busy. If you like change, this is the year for you. If you do not, you might want to come in and know what the changes are, because we've got a lot of changes coming to us this year astrologically. But now we're going to move on to the horoscopes. I will make a note that we are 37 minutes in and put it in the show notes, just so that if you wanted to come and just see the horoscopes, you know where to go. So this is the week, horoscopes for the week of January 6th through 12th, 2025. Happy New Year, friends. The theme this week is this Mars retrograde in Cancer. It is kicking off an emotional reset. We are asked to reflect, to realign, and to nurture ourselves this week. It could be a tough week as we move from that Leo energy into Cancer energy, very different. Mars retrograde slows down the pace, but it is good for emotional growth, reflecting, becoming more emotionally aware. And then, so if you're listening to the horoscopes, I want you to listen for your rising sign, if you know it, next your sun sign, then your moon sign, and then you can listen to whatever sign you like. But I like to use rising sign. I feel like they are most accurate. So we will start with Aries rising. This week, your focus is going to shift into home and family, which are fourth house topics. If you're a budding astrologer, go and find fourth house. You may find home and family conflicts, drama resurfacing, asking for a resolution. Now, you may not get a resolution until the end of February, and just know that things are in flux. Things are working themselves out. Try to use this time to strengthen your emotional bonds, revisiting your foundations, getting real clear on what feels good, what doesn't feel good, and using that nodal work. You know, are you focusing on the tree and not the whole forest, the whole family? So avoid rushing into decisions about your living situation or the people you live with, and try to just ride the tide, because everybody's a little up in arms right now and are building boundaries. So I encourage you to build yours, Aries. All right, Taurus. Taurus, this week your communication may feel a little bit strained. Your focus, you're going to be thinking about third house topics. There can be misunderstandings, miscommunications, people saying the wrong thing, you saying the wrong thing. So be mindful of your words, and also revisiting some of those projects you've got out there. Because third house is like lots of little things in our fishbowl of life, and you may need to go and start making some of those things come to completion or closure, refining, and it may help you to do some journaling, Taurus. You may not be a person who normally likes to journal. Taurus likes to think they've got it all together. It's all inside of them. But journaling, and also talking with people where you can have heartfelt conversations. This would be a good time to help you to get some clarity, because things may be moving fast and spinning a little bit too much on the inside, and you need a way to distill some of that, whether it's phoning a friend or writing it down to get all these thoughts out the way you need to, so that then you can communicate more effectively. All right, Gemini. Gemini, you're going to be focused on financial matters this week. Reflect on your spending habits, what you spent over the holidays. Reassess what your goals are, what your values are, what you want your bank account and your savings account to be. This is an ideal time to plan, to save, and considering long-term security rather than jumping on board something new. So Gemini, if some opportunity comes up that has to do with something financial and you taking a risk, I would say hold off until February. Let this Mars retrograde, spend the time thinking about it, assessing it, evaluating it. Let yourself go along this little tide back and forth before you actually make a decision. And then after we get out of Mars retrograde, I would feel more comfortable about a new investment. But right now, I think is reflection time for you. All right, Cancer rising. So Mars is retrograding in your home sign, and you're going to feel this like intrusion, this like problem, this volatile energy more intensely. So Cancers, you need time for self-care. You need to maybe go into your crab shell a little deeper than you normally do and reflect on, you know, what you want, how you assert yourself, what boundaries you need to change up, and how can you keep yourself out of high stress situations. And that's really, I would say, kind of all water signs, you know, trying to do the retreat, go back and reassess, thinking through how you want to move forward, knowing in February you can, but right now may be just a time when you need to take care of you emotionally, because emotions can be big for Cancer right now. And you know that moon is shifting signs every 2.5 days, and that's really going to come up strongly for you. You're really gonna feel whatever sign. So during the Aries moon, you are gonna maybe feel a little mouthy, a little like wanting to start things. Aries, I know they're always like quick, let's go, and they can be a little pushy when I say mouthy. So you may just want to like say, yeah, I don't really feel like being pushed right now. I'm just going to stay at home. You know, how can you protect yourself? When we go into Taurus energy, somebody might be getting stubborn in your world, you know, or maybe they're extending the olive branch and offering you some warm chocolate chip cookies. And then in that case, you're like, well, sure, I'll take my cookies and then I'll go back into my little crab shell. You know, taking baths is good for Cancer. Any kind of self-care where you feel comfortable, where you feel warm and cozy and snuggly. These are all good ways for Cancer to use their energy during this week. And if you're feeling a little extra stressed out, it's okay for you to go into hermit mode, Cancer. Next we have Leo. Leo, this week is a week for introspection. You know, you have kind of had your time when Mars was in Leo, and now it's time to draw all that you've learned and bring it back in, paying attention to your dreams. What is your subconscious telling you? Really taking some time to think through some of your words, your thoughts, your decisions. Rest would be good for you this week, and retreat. Finding balance in your life, you know, letting go of things that you can't fix. It's not your problem to fix everyone, Leo. All you can do is fix yourself, right? Leo wants to make things good for everybody, and in that way they can be a little controlling or overdo it. And so this is a week, Leo, where I want you to be more internal and come inside and say, what is it that I need? What's going to feel good to me? And how can I rest and recharge my batteries? That's really what this week is about for you, Leo. Virgo, you're going to be reconnecting with community, with friends, with coworkers, with networks, with groups that you're involved in. Now, first, Virgo, you want to ask yourself, are you spreading yourself too thin? You know, have you overcommitted? Have you done too much? This retrograde and this week, as we move into Cancer retrograde, is going to ask you to focus on quality over quantity when it comes to friendships and group projects. So what is most fulfilling to you, Virgo? Where do you feel most at home? Who is vibing the same way that you vibe? They see the details the way you see the details. You know, you want to pick that one or two little communities and then figure out, you know, how can I softly let the rest of this go? This is going to be a time where you really do get to pick and choose, and it's going to be about networking, people you're involved with, so kind of more of an external type of energy with this. But you're going to be thinking about where does that fulfill you on the inside. So quality over quantity, Virgo. That's what I want you to think about this week as you are out and about and making connections with others. All right, Libra. Libra, you're going to be focused on work and profession and your public image. You are reassessing your career direction or something about how you look or how you are perceived in this career, in your job, in your work, in your calling. It's a great time for you to evaluate your long-term goals. But you want to avoid launching new initiatives. Libra can have a good idea and be like, okay, let's go. It's time. Let's plan it. Let's do it. And, you know, this is an assessment time. When we've got planets in retrograde, you know, maybe we're not real clear because that tide keeps going back and forth, you know, back and forth. And I want you to watch those moons too, how it makes you feel and how your mind can change and how your opinions can shift, Libra, with each one of the moons. So rather than make a big decision of something, even though you had an excellent idea, and I'm positive that it is, you really want to just spend your time in assessment mode and how you feel about it over the days. So journaling could be very good for you, very cathartic, and help you to see as that tide comes in and goes out how you feel about this thing. Next we have Scorpio. Scorpio, this week you're going to be drawn to big picture thinking, more of that Pisces energy, and spiritual growth. You're like, what does that mean, Jen? Well, only you know. So spiritual can be lots of ways. It can be religion, but it can also be just lighting a candle and getting quiet. It can be using one of these little apps on our phones to do a guided meditation so you can just get clear on what it is that you really want. And so this week you're going to be thinking about, okay, how do I get to this thing that I want? Once you get clear, do I need more education? Do I need to go somewhere? Do I need to connect with someone? You know, what are the steps that I need to do to get to this thing, and making sure that you are following those steps. You are going on that little inner exploration to get to that clarity that you need to figure out where you're going, what direction you're headed in. So you'll know what this means for you as the week and actually the coming weeks progress, Scorpio. I feel like this is going to be rolling out through this whole Mars retrograde season, thinking about your life from a bigger perspective instead of that one goal that you've been driving toward. Where is it that you're really headed in a bigger picture kind of way. Okay. All right, so now we've got Sag rising. Sagittarius, this week, emotions are going to be on tap. You are going to have themes of deep conversations, intimate connections, conversations about shared resources. These are all 8th house themes. Could be working on your taxes this week, but I'm thinking it's more like one-on-one conversations, deep heart type of things that need to be said. You're going to be reflecting on trust dynamics in your close relationships. Who do you trust? Who can you trust? Who's worth trusting? And you're going to be setting some of those boundaries, okay? I'm also going to say don't do anything impulsive. Don't make any quick decisions. I just want you to watch. I want you to watch those conversations and connections that you make with others. I want you to watch any financial things that come up. Don't make any impulsive financial decisions at this time either. Those shared resources, sometimes somebody else will have a good idea, let's go do this thing, let's pool in and spend our money together, we're going on vacation together, you put in $2,000, I'll put in $2,000 and we'll book this place, and then later you find out there was no place, it was some scam, and then it all falls apart. That's what I'm talking about. So I want you to think about those things. Who do you trust? What do you trust? And getting kind of clear on those intimate connections, Sag. That's going to be important for you. Kind of finding some focus and clarity and not being impulsive, which you may not like to do at this time, but I'm going to say that's what's best for you, Sag. Next we have Capricorn. Capricorn, relationships are taking the spotlight for you this week. Old issues and partnerships may come up. Old problems resurface. Or you might have the chance to reconnect and have some healing, some deeper understanding. It could be an ex comes up or a blast from the past. Not always a good idea to get back in the bed with that problem, right? It's not always a good idea. It didn't work out the first time, but what you can do is find some closure, Capricorn. There might be a blast from the past, an old relationship that comes back, and this doesn't have to necessarily be a lover. It could be a work relationship. It could be an acquaintance, someone somebody comes back, and you get a chance to kind of seal that issue up, to find some closure and to let it go, and just to find a place where you can settle it. So whatever this thing coming up from past conversations, past partnerships, approach them with patience and compassion, really taking that bird's eye view, in Pisces, that North Node, and looking at this problem and saying, or this person, how do I integrate this into the new me? And it may be that person you don't integrate into the new you. Maybe it's you take something with you that you learned out of that relationship, out of that time together, a way that you've evolved, that you've grown in the last year or two, and that's what you're going to carry with you into the future. So be patient, have compassion, but don't always just jump back into that old situation. I want you to just look at it and watch it as that tide rolls in and out. Okay, next we move to Aquarius. Aquarius rising. Your daily routines and your health, all your little day-to-day tasks and the way you do stuff, these are up for a review and reset. So I want you to think about this week, Aquarius, what's draining your energy, what have you taken on too much of, and how can you implement strategies and small changes to bring balance back into your life. You tend to overanalyze things, and you can talk yourself into things, Aquarius. I know you can, and you can figure out a way that it all makes sense, and you can do these 25 things. It's time to pare some of them back. It's time to bring back balance to you. How do you may not be feeling restful and recharging this week, but how do you lessen the things so that you feel more comfortable in your day-to-day, in your routines, so that you're not quite so booked up, so busy, so just overwhelmed with everything. I want you to try to take out those overwhelming things and see if you can get your schedule back aligned. And more than just this week, really through now in February, Aquarius, that's what you're going to be working on, is paring the things down. Okay, next we have Pisces. Pisces, this is a week you're going to be thinking about creativity. Okay, and creativity can come in more than one way. It's not just artwork if you're not an artist. It can also have to do with ways that you feel fresh and childlike and carefree as if you're a little kid. It might be working with kids. It might be visiting with your grandkids. They might be calling and saying, hey, Grammy, I want to come and spend time with you, over the next holiday. It could also be a time for some romance, for some fun. And even if you don't, maybe that's with a partner, but even if you don't have a partner, how can you go buy yourself some flowers? Take yourself out on a date. So you may find that some old passions that you had come back up. These can be hobbies, these can be people, these can be projects. You may be feeling inspired to go back to one of these projects. Maybe you were knitting a sweater and you put it all away and you find it in the closet and you're like, oh, I want to finish that sweater. Maybe you need to take a class to learn how to finish that sweater. Creativity can come in lots of forms. So I want you to approach this self-expression, this passion that you're feeling, with an open heart, Pisces. The North Node is going into your sign. You're headed in the right direction when you use your intuition, when you use your instinct, so it might be really good for you to just close your eyes, get grounded, get centered, do a little meditation, just thinking quietly about what it is that my heart desires. That's going to be a good way for you to spend this week, Pisces. Okay, we've done it, friends. 55 minutes in, we have announcements, we have a forecast, we have moons, we have horoscopes. So this is your week, January 6th through the 12th of 2025, and I hope that you have a wonderful week. My name is Jen. Come back and see me next week, and we'll talk about that big old full moon coming. This is going to be a big one, so you'll want to hear all about it, and I will see you soon. Have yourself a great week. Take care. Lots of love. Bye.